What if two Quetzalcoatlus suddenly appeared above the Qinghai-Tibet Plateau? Not as fossils, not in a museum, alive. For 66 million years, the sky had forgotten them. Then, in one impossible second, a silent rift split open above the Yarling-Songpo Grand Canyon, and two enormous shadows were thrown into the modern world. They were Quetzalcoatlus, 5 meters tall on the ground, wings wider than a small aircraft, long skulls shaped like spears, bodies light enough to ride the wind, but large enough to make anything below them feel small. For a moment, they looked like gods returning to the sky. But the modern world did not welcome them. It punished them. The Qinghai-Tibet Plateau is one of the harshest flying environments on Earth. The air is thin. The temperature is brutal. The wind does not flow smoothly. It crashes, twists, rises, and collapses inside the canyon like an invisible storm. And these ancient giants were not ready for it. The first Quetzalcoatlus spread its wings and tried to glide. Immediately, the canyon wind caught its membrane and twisted it sideways. Its body rolled in the air like a torn kite. The second one tried to climb, but the thin air gave it no lift. It dropped, recovered, then dropped again. These creatures had once ruled prehistoric skies. Now they were barely staying alive. Then came the cold. Their exposed wing membranes burned under freezing wind and intense ultraviolet light. Every gust stripped heat from their bodies. Every second in the open air drained energy they could not replace. Their hunger became violent. Their muscles shook. Their instincts screamed. And that was when the modern sky sent its first defenders. 3 bearded vultures appeared above the ridge. Compared to Quetzalcoatlus, they were tiny, but they belonged here. They understood the cliffs, the thermals, the sudden drops, the dangerous pockets of air. To the ancient giants, the canyon was chaos. To the vultures, it was home. The first vulture folded its wings and dropped like a knife. The Quetzalcoatlus tried to turn, but its massive wings reacted too slowly. The vulture slashed across its flight membrane. A long tear opened in the thin skin. The giant screamed. A second vulture struck from the side, tearing the wound wider. A third circled above, waiting for panic to finish the job. The Quetzalcoatlus folded its wings and fell. For a few terrifying seconds, it dropped toward the glacier like a collapsing tent. At the last moment, it opened its damaged wings, caught the air unevenly, slammed into the canyon wall, and crashed into a narrow crevice between ice and stone. The second giant followed. 2 ancient kings of the sky had been defeated by modern mountain birds. That was the first lesson. Size means nothing if the sky belongs to someone else. For the next 3 months, the Quetzalcoatlus vanished. No planes saw them, no herders reported them, no cameras caught them. They hid deep inside the canyon, where sunlight barely touched the ice and the wind screamed through the rocks. They no longer dared to fly in open air. Instead, they moved like ghosts, gliding close to cliff walls and using short bursts of wind to cross from one ledge to another. They hunted whatever they could reach: plateau pikas, small birds, animals trapped in cracks or snow pockets. Their long beaks, once weapons of domination, became tools for stealing scraps from the ice. They had gone from prehistoric apex predators to canyon thieves. But survival does strange things to a body. The torn wing membranes healed badly at first. Then they healed stronger. Scar tissue thickened across the damaged areas. Their wings became darker, tougher, and less likely to tear in the violent plateau winds. Their chest muscles grew denser from repeated climbing. Their shoulders strengthened. Their skin, burned again and again by high-altitude sunlight, formed a rough gray protective layer. The plateau was rewriting them. Month by month, they learned the canyon, where warm air rose, where wind split around stone, where the cliffs created invisible ramps into the sky. They stopped fighting the environment. They started using it. Then, after 18 months, one of them returned to open air. This time, it did not flap wildly. It waited at the bottom of the canyon, spread its scarred wings, and let a rising column of air lifted. Higher, 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 until it reached the cliffs above. Then it folded its wings and dropped. The dive was terrifying. Not graceful, not bird-like, something closer to a falling spear. Below, a Himalayan ibex stood on a narrow ledge, unaware of the shadow above it. By the time it sensed the pressure change, it was already too late. The Quetzalcoatlus opened its wings only seconds before impact.
breaking violently in the thin air. Its long skull drove forward like a weapon, striking the ibex and knocking it from the cliff. The animal fell. The canyon swallowed the sound. The giant circled down and landed beside the broken body. For the first time since entering the modern world, it had not survived by hiding. It had hunted, and everything changed. By the 4th year, the two Quetzalcoatlus were no longer the fragile creatures that had fallen from the rift. Their wings were darker, scarred, and reinforced. Their bodies were stronger. Their heads carried thickened ridges that helped stabilize them during high-speed dives. The bearded vultures no longer attacked them. They fled. The moment those giant shadows appeared above the ridgelines, every modern bird changed direction. Ravens dropped lower. Eagles abandoned the thermals. Vultures disappeared into side valleys. Even snow leopards learned to look up before crossing open rock. On the cliffs, ibex changed their behavior. They stopped standing near exposed ledges. They stayed under overhangs. They froze whenever the light above them shifted. The plateau had gained a new rule. The danger was no longer below. It was above. But humans only understood the scale of the threat on a clear afternoon, when a passenger plane was flying from Lhasa towards Chengdu. The cabin was calm. People slept, children watched cartoons, a flight attendant moved down the aisle with drinks. Then an elderly Tibetan woman near the rear window stopped moving her prayer beads. Outside, less than 200 meters from the wing, something enormous was flying beside the aircraft. At first, passengers thought it was another plane. Then they saw the wings, gray-brown, leathery, massive. A long head turned toward the window. A bone-like crest caught the sunlight. For a few seconds, the creature matched the aircraft's path, gliding silently through air that should have belonged only to machines. Then the cabin erupted. Screams, prayers, phones pressed against windows. The pilots received warnings from air traffic control. Something unknown had appeared beside the aircraft. It was not transmitting. It was not registered. It was not mechanical. Then a second shadow appeared on the opposite side. Two giants, flying beside modern aviation like ancient gods inspecting a metal bird. Within minutes, fighter jets were scrambled. Two J-16s roared towards the Hangdong Mountains, tracking the impossible biological targets as they descended towards the Yarling-Sangpo Grand Canyon. But the Quetzalcoatlus did not try to outrun the jets. They dove straight into the canyon. The fighters could not follow. The passage was too narrow, too deep, too violent. Radar signals shattered among the cliffs. The pilots climbed away and watched the two giant shadows disappear into the maze of stone. No missile was fired, no capture was attempted. Because for the first time in modern history, humans had found something in the sky that technology could see but could not control. That night, the airspace around the canyon was closed. Officially, it was called a safety measure. Unofficially, everyone knew the truth. The sky had a new owner. Far below the stars, on a rock ledge untouched by humans, the two Quetzalcoatlus stood in silence. Behind them, the glacier shone under the moonlight. Above them, the plateau sky stretched wide and ancient, almost unchanged from the world they had lost. They had arrived broken. They had been hunted. They had hidden in shame. But the modern world had failed to erase them. Instead, it had sharpened them. And on the land closest to heaven, after 66 million years of silence, the sky finally remembered their name.